Okay, students, in this step, we're going to make a rather simple moving enemy that'll work well for a level version. Your flying tigers enemy that just flies straight at you. In the previous video, we made an enemy that chases us using Floating Pawn and AI Move 2, and it uses the nav mesh we have here. And on our next enemy, for starters, we're actually not going to need that. This guy's a little simpler. Now, what we could do here, I have a bunch of enemies, but we're going to remake these as we go. We could go ahead and make a new blueprint and inherit from our base enemy blueprint. But we've already made this chase enemy, and we're going to use the same distance function on this. So I'm just going to right-click on my chase enemy and choose duplicate. I'm going to call this guy enemy straight, or enemy straight 1, because I have an enemy straight already. And I'm going to go ahead and come in here. And we can see here it's based on our chase enemy. We've got some basic stuff going on. I'm going to give this enemy 2 health, but it's up to you. I'm going to say maybe he gives me 15 score. And he doesn't chase the player. I'm going to call this function here move straight, because that's what he's doing. That's going to give us a bug at first, because over here we need to change it so that our custom event is called move straight. And then a couple things. At least for the start, we don't actually need our floating pawn movement. We might bring it back, but for right now I'm going to remove it, because we're not going to use our AI move 2. I'm just going to go ahead and lose this. And instead, we're going to go as simple can be. So we're currently checking to see, is the player close enough to us to start doing stuff? And if so, we're going to start doing stuff. And up here, it's checking every 1/8 of a second if the player is close enough, because we don't want to be on tick. So I'm going to go ahead and make a timeline. We've been using timelines to move things for a while, to move objects and things. But I'm actually going to get not complicated with this at all, because we don't need it to like rotate open, and we don't need it to have a start and an end point. We just want it to move. So I'm going to go into this timeline here, and I'm just going to tell it to autoplay and to loop. And I'm not going to give it any keyframes. I'm not going to give it any tracks. I'm not going to give it anything. I'm just actually, I don't actually think I want autoplay. I just want loop here. Because if it autoplays, it'll start right away, not when the player gets close. So I just want loop. If you ever want something to move right away, you can just click autoplay as well. So back in here, what we want to do is we want this character to move from its current location. So on update of the timeline, I'm going to add actor world offset. So we are what's moving, self. And then delta location is how is our current location changing. Now, this is a little hard to wrap your brain around, but because of how this level is laid out, up and down is X, which I can tell because I have red going this way. If you make your own level from the start, perhaps you will make it facing in a more normal direction. But X is up and down this way. So if we want it to fly towards our spaceship, we're going to want -X. So in here, we'll just say -10 on the X, and it will constantly update and keep moving this to a new location 10 south of its current location. And we're done. At this point, enemy straight 1 will fly. When we get close enough, it'll fly down towards us. Let me go ahead and change our little thing here. Let's go with some sort of rock, I guess, just so we can tell this guy different. There he is. And if I put a bunch of these guys up here, let's move them up a little bit. I can put, let's say, 3 of them here. And they should be farther than 1,000 from me, so they shouldn't happen right away. If I hit play, then I fly over this way and fly up, there they are coming to get me, and they're not going to stop. Do note, they do not care about walls. They do not care about collision because the offset there is just forcing them to move. So again, this works better in sort of your level exploration Flying Tigers type game where I'm going this way and enemies start coming at me. If you do want it to, for example, avoid objects, well then we can come back and go back and change this up. And instead of using actor world offset, we would add the floating pawn movement back. And we would have to use AI move towards, just like we did last time. So that would be AI move towards, move to, excuse me. And to AI move to, we're going to need a destination. And what we want is our destination to sort of always be a little bit in front of us. Now, there's an interesting sort of trade-off here. So you need a place for it to move towards. And we can do that by getting our own location, get actor location. And I want to split this by right-clicking into X, Y, and Z, just like how I'm going to split our destination into X, Y, and Z. Now, we want to move negative on the X, so our Y we want to stay the same, and our Z we want to stay the same, so we can keep these together. It will always be moving towards its own location with a change on the X. And then what we want to do is change the X value. So I'm just going to do -10, or just negative, excuse me, subtract 10 here. And I could feed this in, and it should work, because as the timeline plays, it's going to update, and it's going to continually get our location, and it's always going to want to move 10, -10, yes, 10 below where our current location is. Let's see if this guy works. Now, because it's AI move to, it won't move through objects. Now, what's interesting here is this number is going to determine sort of how it reacts to objects. And this may not actually move because we don't have a lerp here, but let's see what happens. Yeah, see, these guys don't move because they don't know what to do. Oh, ow. Of course. Forget I said anything about lerp. Go ahead and connect that back in. What we were missing here was the self-reference for our pawn, aka what is supposed to move. We are supposed to move. Okay, now this here, this subtraction is how far it is looking in front of itself on the move. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play. We can fly up here. We see them all slowly moving forward. Now, as we get to the box, 2 will continue and 2 will stop. And these ones are stopping because they're trying to get to a point in front of them that is no longer navigable. There is a wall in front of there. Now, if we increase this number so that instead of looking, say, 10 in front of them, they're looking, say, 200 in front of them, they will actually go around the wall. And in fact, they go faster, you notice, until they can't move again. So that speed there is managed by how far in front of them they're looking, how fast they're moving towards it. But also it lets them sort of dodge out of other things. So those are your 2 options, the sort of simple move. There's also a more complicated where instead of using add actor world offset, you could use set actor position. And again, use get actor location to do more complicated moves if you wanted to move diagonally by having it move on the X and Y. Situations like that. You could probably even do a fancy thing where it moves up and down on the Z so that bullets fly under it. But that is sort of simple moves with a simple enemy.